Welcome back to another episode of the Constructive Liberty Podcast. Today is Friday, October the 28th. This is episode 118, I believe. And I've got a really great interview today. This is the girl that's going to come on the podcast this morning is someone that I have known since she was a little tiny baby girl. And she's been very special to both my wife and I. And I've already done the interview. It's a really great chat. This girl's name is Lexi Miller. You're going to love some of the things she has to say. And I would encourage you just to go follow her on Instagram for the little motivational quotes that she posts on a quite regular basis. She's someone that has gone through quite a few hard things in life, and she is working hard to become everything that God made her to be. And when we stay stuck in our traumas and in the things that we've gone through, we can't fulfill the potential that God gave us. But Lexi is doing everything she knows how to do to fulfill that potential. You're going to love this interview. She's a really awesome girl. Go find her, follow her. The topic that we're talking about today is loving the little things through the big storms of life. And she says that by focusing our attention on what nurtures and sustains us in life, on everything that brings you even the smallest amount of pleasure, it also means practicing gratitude by noticing these things every day that you take for granted so easily. And it makes the storms smaller and easier to find your way out. Now, Lexi, you told me here, you said, I've had my share of big storms that just seem to come in waves, and it felt like I was being dragged out to sea farther and farther. And then I'd find something as small as a verse in the Bible or a smile from a stranger, and I was able to find my way back. You have to choose life or death, is what a counselor told you. And then you found the little things to keep going. You were able to see some of the good things life had to offer. And I know we'll get into some of that, but before we go deep into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, and kind of what got you through life to make Lexi who she is today?
Okay, so, I'm Lexi. Just a couple things about me. I've always been like the person, just my go-to thing, and that's just my personality, I guess. I've been told I have an old soul, and just things like that. And what else? I love making jokes. Anything and everything is a joke to me. I can make it into a joke. Easy peasy.
Yeah. So do you tend to bring out jokes in a serious situation to lighten the mood, or like what kind of situation tends to bring out the jokes in you?
It can be like super serious things, and like just for me personally, like I know like it helps like if somebody would just like lighten the mood, because it could be, I don't know, like whatever topic it is could be like really serious, and just like a simple joke about like you stumbling and falling, whatever, they can just kind of really help them just to be like, okay, yeah, that's funny. It just helps them lighten the mood and just makes it better.
Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about young Lexi, 7, 8, 9, 12 years old, and kind of what are some of the things in life that you enjoyed that brought the spark to your eye that made you light up back when you were a kid?
Okay, wow, that's a ways back, but I think some of the things were just, I love singing. Singing was my everything. So singing,
Yeah,
just playing tag, being rambunctious, honestly. My energy was through the roof when I was a kid.
you weren't ornery, were you? Were you a troublemaker?
Sometimes I could be. Yeah, and what else did I do? I did a lot of coloring. Coloring and singing were like my go-to things.
Yeah, awesome. How have you kind of carried that through to, would you call yourself an adult now?
Yes, I would.
You would? That's good. You're old enough, but sometimes some of us tend to stay in our childhood a little longer than we should. And that's not always bad, but like it's not fun to grow up before you're ready to, but sometimes there's events that happen to us or circumstances that just make you have to grow up.
Oh
But I
yeah.
mean, you still have to maintain the childhood love of fun and joy and all of those things. So today, what are some of those things that bring you joy now?
So I work at a daycare now, and I'm gonna have to say some of the kids there, they bring a lot of joy just because, I mean, everybody is so different, and like they just bring out little things throughout the day to make your day better. So that would be one. And then my puppy Cooper. Oh,
What kind of puppy do you have?
I have an Australian Shepherd.
Oh man.
Yes.
Yeah, you need a golden retriever.
I know I do.
I know where you can get one.
Oh yeah, I've seen him on your Facebook.
You need to come see him. I promise you won't go home without one.
Got one these days.
You mentioned daycare. What I'm sure you have some interesting stories from daycare. Is there anything that stood out to you recently that just kind of blew your mind or made you laugh or anything?
So I think this was a couple weeks ago, I think. But I had a kid I started dance classes with him, and last week
So is that you teaching dance class, or are you taking him to dance class, or?
I teach him dance.
Okay, cool. I didn't know you taught dance. That's cool. That's a cool little side note.
So we were dancing, and then all of a sudden, this little boy goes, Miss Lexi or Miss Exy, I need to go potty. And I go, okay, like, just go to the bathroom. And he goes, no, it's on the floor back there. And I go, oh no.
Oh no. So did you have to clean it up?
No, somebody else that was helping me had to clean it up. But it's little things like that that are just like, okay, like the bathroom was like right there.
Yeah, that's things like that. You either have to laugh or cry, and it's just better to laugh through it, because in 10 years, is it going to matter? You're going to look back on it and laugh at that point. And maybe if you still know the kid, you can say, hey, remember the time you peed on the dance floor?
Hard to forget.
So what? I'm sorry, were you starting to say something?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. What are some things that you do when you're not babysitting? Like, how do you enjoy spending your time if you're not coloring or singing or babysitting?
Honestly, I do a lot of sleeping. If I'm not of that, I get kind of pretty lazy, or that's about it.
Yeah. So you daycare, color, sleep. I guess sing. Do you still do those things, or have you left those behind? Somewhat.
I've left the coloring behind, just because I was like a way for me to cope through everything. So now it's like,
now you just sleep it through. Is the daycare, is that a full-time job, or do you have anything else going on?
Nope, full-time.
Full-time, yes. Wow. That's a lot of time around kids.
Yeah.
Does it make you how does that affect how you look at your own future? Does it make you not want kids for your future, or make you like excited about it, or do you see things that maybe you would do as a parent to, like, you want to grab and shake the kids, or like how does that make you feel about your future?
In the beginning, like I was like pretty excited for kids, and I'm no stranger to kids, so
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I could handle anything. And there are days where I'm like, okay, as a parent, I would be doing this a whole lot different. Like,
I'm sure there's things you can't do at the daycare that you would probably do as a parent.
yes.
Yes. I'm sure most parents would not want their daycare person disciplining the child, even though they might need it.
Yeah. No.
I'm sure there'd be some maybe some troubles there or things like that. Do you foresee yourself staying in the daycare long term?
No. I leave in January.
Oh, you leave in January. What's coming up in January?
I'm going back to college.
Going back to college. Awesome. Awesome. Do you have a major or something that you're going for?
I kind of have maybe two, I think, that I want to do.
How do you go about making that decision?
It's very hard, very hard. And
Yeah.
like, I have a lot of life skills and like people skills, so it's hard for me. At least it was hard narrowing it down to a job that I could fit all of those into.
Gotcha. Yeah, that can be tough. I can see that. It can be tough. For sure. Are you ready to get serious?
Huh?
Are
Yes.
you ready to get serious? Go dive into the questions you sent me?
Sure.
Okay. That was kind of a big transition there, wasn't it? You talked about some big storms in life and feeling like you were being dragged out to sea. What were some things that helped you navigate through that? Like how did you cope with some of the things that happened to you? What was it that carried you through that?
Um, I'm gonna say the first thing I'm gonna say is just like how much I believed in God and having my Bible. Like
Mm,
that was it. Like, and through I don't know, like 20 years, I guess, of my life, I've clung to Psalms 23. That's been my rock through everything. But then if you go like outside of that, it would be I had my counselor, and I've been in counseling about 10 years maybe. And so like if I wouldn't have had like that and learning like the coping skills and just kind of navigating through like, oh, this is what makes me feel this way, or this, and this is what makes me feel like I'm being dragged out more. It was very nice to have those type of things.
yeah. Was there ever any kind of a stigma that went along with going to a counselor?
There was, I mean, at first I was really resilient because I was like, well, I can take care of my own problems, and like that's how I was raised. Like we don't need to talk to counselors. That's weird. That's we just,
Mm-hmm.
and so when my family first found out that that's what I was doing, they're like, okay, that's a little bit weird. Like you must be pretty messed up in the head to think that way. But they soon realized like, oh, it's just kind of whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it definitely helps to have somebody to talk to about things. And if somebody is trained to help you work through issues, why not get help? Rather than stay stuck in it. So I'm proud of you for that. That's great. Back up just a little bit. You said that leaning on your faith in God and the Bible, what did that look like in the everyday application of it? I mean, a lot of people talk about faith and they have the Bible and all of that, but then when the rubber meets the road, they don't really spend a lot of time praying or reading the Bible. I know I can do better at that as well, but
Mm-hmm.
how did that work out in your life at that time? Was that something that was a constant for you, or that you stayed there constantly, or was it something that when you would have a moment you'd run back to it? Talk through that just a little bit if you
Okay.
will.
So, um, I'll back it up to like freshman year, like to sophomore year. I did a lot of like, I read my book, like not the book. I read the Bible when I kind of remembered, or I would pray when it felt, I guess, convenient for me. And I was very on and off, and it was rough through those years. And then it wasn't until my, what was it, junior to senior year that I actually started, reading my Bible every day and really I started listening to Christian music again. And that's when I just kind of dove into it more. And
Mm-hmm.
I took a lot of notes over like my verse that I like Psalms 23. Like that's, if anything, that was the only verse I would read over and over again in the Bible through those years.
Yeah.
And
And what was that one?
Psalms 23.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. You probably know that by heart by now.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I think a lot of for a lot of us that was like the first thing you memorized growing up. So I'm sure that was there for you as well. You mentioned seeing a counselor. Were there other people also that helped kind of carry you through those hard times? Kind of gave you a little beacon or a guiding light?
Yes. So I'm gonna say you and Miss Carmel were my ultimate like people that I would love to talk to about everything. And you and Gene and Sharon, when I was growing up, were like ultimately like some of like my hardcore like rocks. Like I don't know, when I was over at you guys' house, that you guys were the first time I ever experienced like love or affection or anything like that. And so I've carried that on till now, honestly.
Wow, that's awesome. I love it. That's so good. How did I know we didn't talk about this, but do you think some of those feelings, and tell me if you don't want to go here, do you think some of those feelings came from having been adopted as a child?
Oh yeah, most
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. What tell me a little about that. Like what is that like?
Um, it honestly depends on like what age you are. Like when you're younger, you think it's like this great grand thing, like, oh, you were adopted. Like it's the first time in your life that you felt like you had this family that wanted you. And then by your teen years, it's like, oh, it's a curse. Like if this family didn't want me or and this family doesn't want me, then you're just in like this really rough spot and you go
Mhm.
dark valley. And like now that I'm coming out of my teen years, I'm adult and I'm thinking like it is a good thing, but I also have to really be on myself about it's okay like to think that it's not okay to be adopted. It's okay to love being adopted and you just got to focus on the good part of it.
Yeah. You find the people that love you for who you are. For
Exactly.
sure. For sure. What are some things that you're proud of on your journey, kind of working through some of those things and maybe some of the stuff that you've accomplished through all of that, despite the things that you've gone through?
Um, Honestly, I'm surprised that I like not surprised. One of my biggest accomplishments is I don't know, like 2 years ago, I went through like this really dark, suicidal, like really bad part of my time. So I'm glad to say that I'm here now and like I'm living life, going through the phases or whatever. And then like another accomplishment would be I have this huge book of poems that I've either written or poems that have really that drew me out of like that dark phase, I would say. So I think that is one of my ultimate accomplishments. That
Do
book.
you have them with you? You can share one with us, one of your favorites.
I don't at the moment. I should have thought of that, but I don't.
Oh, that
Well,
would be cool. That would be awesome.
I can
So,
send you.
how's that?
I can send you them.
Oh, yeah, that would be cool. That'd be really cool. What are some things that you would tell yourself to help you get through that? Like, we all get in our head sometimes, and that our self talk can either be a positive thing or a negative thing. And I know when you're in a negative space, it's super hard to tell yourself good things. It's hard enough to tell yourself good things when you're in a good space,
Oh yeah.
because it can be hard to believe good things about yourself. I know, but how did you kind of get yourself in a good mental space, and what are some of the things that you would tell yourself to help boost you through that?
I mean, it's gonna sound cliche because everybody tells you it, but one of the biggest things was it'll end soon, or it'll all be worth it later on when you grow up. And if I had to really cling to that, and there were times where I didn't want to, like that. To me, saying like when somebody would say that to me, it was like they were really just punching me in the stomach, and just being like, because it's
Mm-hmm.
a nice life or whatever, and it'd just be like this gut punch, and I'd be like, oh, why would you say that? But then you have to really think and like I don't know. I did a lot of like overthinking like that phrase or like writing it out, and I was like, okay, I get it. Like it's gonna end soon, and I won't be in this same spot 5 years from now.
Yeah.
So
It
uh,
it doesn't make it easier in the middle of it though, does it?
no,
No. I think a lot of times those sayings come from people who haven't experienced whatever it is you're going through.
Oh yeah.
And they can't imagine maybe the pain or the hurt or whatever the situation is, and so they think they have to say something,
Mm.
and oftentimes it's not what the person needs to hear. I'm sure that's giving you some insight into how to help other people who've gone through similar things as you. what what do you think little Lexi or younger Lexi needed to hear in that time? What would have been some good things to have said to someone who maybe faced some of the trials or trauma that you did?
Um, I'm gonna go with like, as a kid, I just wanted somebody to listen to me. I wanted them to fully grasp, I guess, like the feelings that I felt, the words that I was saying, and I just needed somebody just to hold me and say like it was gonna be okay. Like I know a lot of people did say it, but it didn't seem like they really meant it. Like as a little kid, I needed somebody just to like just pick me up and squeeze me as tight as they could and be like, you know what, you're gonna be okay. You're a strong person, and like I don't know, I needed somebody to hear that, and I still am that way. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah,
I think that's it.
it's tough. It's tough. Why didn't you give up?
Um, to me, giving like as much as I wanted to give up, and there was a lot of time I wanted to give up, but I knew that if I gave up, I would be leaving behind my dad. I'd be leaving behind all my best friends to deal with the thought of Lexi not being here anymore. And then that, and I wouldn't be able to see the adult version of myself and like where God was going to take me. So I couldn't give up.
What do you see the adult version of yourself as?
I don't know. Somebody that is, I don't know, she's out there just living life to the fullest, very happy, either a stay at home mom or working in the restaurant that I want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is your ultimate thing that you want to do, is that working in a restaurant, having your own restaurant?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So how are you working towards that right now?
That's a great question. I feel like, me personally, I feel like I'm doing a lot of backstepping, but then, like, I don't know, like working at a daycare, you wouldn't think that would lead you to like owning a restaurant or like anything like that. But it's teaching me patience because little toddlers and sometimes adults, we can act the same over things.
If you don't get what you want, uh, yes, you get somebody's order wrong, they're bound to throw a fit like a toddler would.
Yes, they will. So it's just little things like that. And it's like, okay, like I have to really focus on like that aspect and like just it's teaching me patience, it's teaching me kindness and like okay, like as mad as irritated as I am now, it's not worth it. Like I'll just go fix your food, like whatever, it'll be okay. So
Yeah. Cool. Very cool. Anything you would say to somebody who is maybe in a situation like you've come through in your life, who's faced some of the things you faced?
um I think first to take I would listen a lot. Like they really need somebody to hear them before they just like as much as you can say like you sympathize and or really like you know how they feel. Well, in that moment, you don't want to say that. Like
Right.
you, hey, I hear you. Just let it all out. First, just let it all out. The screaming, the ranting, everything. Just let it all out. And then you want to give them a hug, and then you can share like little things that you went through, but don't flip this like what they're telling on to just yourself.
Right. Yeah. Don't one up them for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Awesome. Lexi, this has been a good talk. I'm glad you came on the podcast. And I know on your Instagram and I think maybe on Facebook, you post a lot of inspirational stuff.
I tried.
Yeah, it's really good. I enjoy enjoy seeing your posts. What do you have kind of some people that you're trying, or is there an audience that you're trying to reach with your message that you put out?
Yes, very much so. So like for me, I find it hard, like even on a good day, to like, I mean, a lot of, honestly, like just self-loving, and like there's like a, from like you, what is a good age to start, like 14, even further down than that, till like you're 20 or however old you are. Like we don't really think like self-love is important until it's like those dark hours at night and we're just getting in our heads and it's just awful. So I think I
Yeah.
try that audience, and like
Mm-hmm.
anybody that's, I don't know, I kind of connect to people that, I don't know, have been like really abused or things like that. So it just, my Facebook just kind of draws them in, I guess. And I just try to be that one person to hear them, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing the difference it can make when you can see yourself in the same light that God sees you in.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's easy to hate yourself for things that have happened to you because you feel like you're worthless.
Oh, yeah.
I think all of us feel that from time to time. I'm sure some struggle a lot more with it than others do. But when you can see that God loves you, that you're worth fighting for, then it really shifts maybe how you feel about yourself. Like if God is going to love me, then I guess I should love me enough to, you know, do what I can to make the most out of my life.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really a mind shift there. So that's good. I'm impressed. I will definitely put your link to your Instagram in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate it. This has been a fun chat.